Hello, Patreon. Harmonize with me on that one.
No.
I'm going to sing the same.
Nope.
I'm going to sing.
Nope.
I'm going to sing the same part, and you harmonize with what you think
I'm not
would.
doing it.
You got an attitude today.
It's my eyelashes. They're clumpy.
Your eyelashes are clumpy as hell. Clump ass lashes and an attitude. Now that's a song. Clump ass lashes and an attitude. Clump ass lashes and an attitude. Clump ass lashes and an attitude. An attitude. And what was this? What is this?
It's a butterfly.
A butterfly?
My eyelashes are like butterflies.
And butterfly kisses at night. We watched The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Thank you, Emily.
Emily, a Patreon fan.
I love when the Patreon fans, it's funny to me when they don't put a last name in there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Emily. Just Emily.
Just Emily. And this is far back. This is at almost the beginning of us doing Let's Watch TV.
Yeah, it was definitely suggested a long-ass time ago.
It
Emily,
was.
hopefully, you're still around.
Yeah. So what we did was...
Tell them what we did, Fran. Tell them.
Season 4
Season 4!
just started. You can get, if you listen to the podcast, the main podcast, it's season 4. You can get it on Amazon Prime. And
If you have
the
that,
Marvelous
if
Mrs.
you have
Maisel.
Amazon Prime, do you think people get Amazon Prime in, like, the middle of... I always think about this. Like, if you lived in, like, the middle of Montana on, like, a ranch somewhere, does Amazon still come to you?
Why are you asking me? What the hell? How would I know?
Blake, what do you think?
Yes.
Blake says yes.
Well, then Blake's right.
And do you think it takes
Except he wants my
longer?
job, so I'm not sure I'm going to be,
2 questions. 1, do you think it takes longer? And 2, do you think they deliver via horse?
Wait, have you seen Nomadland?
No. Mad? No.
Nomadland? So what's her name? Frances.
Ford Coppola?
No.
Girl from Burn After Reading.
Oh, I know who you're talking
Norman.
Yes. Oh,
So it's about her being like a nomad and living out of like a van.
yes.
But how she makes money and she works at like a warehouse facilities every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in like bumfuck nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's like Amazon facilities and different warehouses.
This is the show?
She was in 4 billboards.
In the movie.
Oh.
She was in
So
4.
in the movie, she like works at like a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and it's like an Amazon facility.
Isn't that cool? So it is.
Yeah, there's like facilities in the places you expect nothing to be there. There's usually like warehouses that people work at.
Okay. Now I'm intrigued. Was she a nomad by choice or was she
Yeah.
homeless?
No, she was like done with like materialistic stuff and lived like in like a RV. Won like an Oscar.
It's going to be good.
That makes me wonder if the people who live in RVs around here do it by choice. Like I was driving here one day to the studio and I saw a guy getting his like a tune-up on his RV by like a company. And I was like, bitch, this ain't a house. It just bothers me in Seattle because it's like I'm paying taxes.
4.
What the hell are you pay? You should at least have to pay road taxes because you're just beep-bopping on the side of the road.
Right. He's a nomad.
She wakes up.
You know what,
early
Blake? Thanks
every
for that because that
morning.
sounds like a good movie. We're going to check that out.
Nomadland.
Yeah. I love Frances Durr.
Norman or something.
Yeah, she's so good.
Frances McDermott. Oh, yeah, for a billboard.
She was in 4 billboards. Yeah, she's in lots of
Wow,
stuff.
both of us need
Anyway.
to take an Adderall. You want one?
No.
Just checking.
Anyway.
I wouldn't do that for the record. That's illegal. I would never.
Anyway, if you listen to the main podcast, you'll get a lot more information on it. But first of all,
If you were to take an Adderall, how would you take it?
what the hell away? It's by pill.
By pill? Would you swallow it? Would you swallow it, crush it, and snort it, or crush it and melt it over a spoon and put it in your veins? Or would you suppository it, Mom? Blake asked. This is a Blake question I didn't ask.
Blake.
You guys also, in case you're new here, Blake's our like 21-year-old producer.
Yeah.
In the stew.
First of all, I would take it and put it up your ass, okay? Because you need it, not me. But listen, we talked about the costumes in the show.
We did.
And and I thought, who is this costume designer? Her name was Donna Zakowska.
Oh, you tell me about Donna Zakowska.
She says everything with Midge starts with an accessory. And just like in the show at the beginning, the reason why Midge learned to drive is because she liked the pink driving gloves. So she has the pink driving gloves and thought, oh, now I need to learn to drive. So everything in the show is focused around her accessory. I thought that's so cool.
Got good. Okay, so everybody too. This opening scene of season 4.
Yeah.
She's like having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And she strips down.
Oh my God.
But she strips down to like what her undergarments would be, which would now just be common day, every day, out the door clothes.
Yeah, really. But what I learned
It
is,
was like a little
and what we
burlesque
did in the
scene.
theater was, like Ginger Hupp always did,
Made them wear all that shit.
all that stuff on the costume started from everything underneath, and all the women, especially singers, had to wear. If it's a girdle, you wear a girdle and you learn to sing in it, because it's not easy if you're not used to wearing a girdle, right? So when she stripped down to that, I said that's exactly what I would expect. A beautiful corset. She's got a beautiful figure too. I mean, she's just a beautiful girl. Anyway, and
What's
they
her
said
name? Something Bro.
her name is, I got it down.
Something Bro.
I had it in the last notes, but you cut me short, so I didn't go there.
Well, you still have your notes in your hand, so you would think you could find that.
Well, let me see. Rachel Brosnan
Yeah,
is
I think you're
Mabel.
butchering
She
this
was
something
in House of
culturally
Cards,
disrespectful.
Blacklist, Beautiful Creatures is some of the things that she was in. They also said that the matchy was a typical trait for women in the era of the late 50s and 60s. Women were very conscious of matching things, like your shoes had to go with your purse. And I remember doing this because when you're in weddings, your shoes had to match the dress you wore. And I would always buy my shoes to match my purses, and it's still hard to get out of because, like your nails have to match your manicure, has to match your pedicure, and it's hard to. When I switch it up, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right, you know. So it was actually Lindsay's wedding when you guys wore blue suits and brown shoes. Remember?
Yeah.
I looked at it and went,
We didn't wear blue suits. We wore gray suits.
gray suits and brown shoes. Right?
Yeah,
And then
that's
now
right.
they have blue suits and brown shoes. Back then, it was like you would never do that. You would never put those colors like the shoes would be black to go with the gray, right? And but I have to admit it is beautiful now. I mean, you accept that and it's beautiful. But back then in the late 50s, early 60s, you never would do that.
I noticed this too. There's a scene where she's out to lunch or dinner with her manager.
Mm-hmm.
It's that scene where they sit together and she's like, well, then let's switch it up. Let's check it out.
Right.
She's wearing this it's either a jacket or like a blazer with a shirt underneath it. I don't know. That's how I'm going to describe
is
it,
Matt?
right? Midge.
Midge.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And there's 2 big buttons on the blazer that are the exact same color as the shirt underneath.
Right.
And it made me think, even when I was watching that episode, I was like, oh, back then was matching like such a thing that you would buy this shirt and this blazer and like only wear them together.
Absolutely. I bought a purple clutch purse to go with a specific pair of shoes, and I used it once. But that reminded me of the early 70s when my whole family, we decided as kids, there were 6 of us, that we would have a family picture taken from my mom and dad for Christmas. Never did it before, right? Uncle Emery, all of us. So we decided we're going to wear like white sweaters and just make sure you wear a white sweater. And Ginger wears this white dress, really cute. We got the pictures back. She wore a white dress with a collar that came down like to her breast line with 2 strawberries at the end of it. And to this day, we look and go, oh my God. And Ginger looked like she had pasties on.
I need to see this picture.
You got to see it. We've got it. Poor Aunt Ginger. We tease her about that to this day.
Oh, I need to see that. I need to see that.
Oh, it's so funny. But now my favorite character is Susie, who is her manager, right? And they contrasted Susie's wardrobe opposite of Midge's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Midge's is very elegant and always cool. They put her in sweater, slacks, leather coats, and a newsboy cap.
Mm-hmm.
And this was interesting what I found. She was the manager of the Gaslight Cafe. That's in the show, right? And there was a real Gaslight Cafe in New York.
Oh.
Okay, so they kind of mirrored that to that real cafe. And it was people really tough and rough hung out there, like James Dean characters and all these kind of people. So they mirrored that after a real place. And they mirrored her character to a real life manager and agent called Sue Menger. And she was one of the most famous agents back then. But the interesting part of this article that I read is they always wondered about Susie's sexuality, as always comes up.
Oh, yeah.
That question always comes up. According to the LA Times, with an interview with her, with the actress, who is phenomenal, Susie, she said, Susie is like a fleshy formed baby. The same people ask about the sexuality of Susie are the same people who say don't want the character to be labeled. She goes, it's the same people asking the question, but yet don't want the character to be labeled. So she's like non-gender, really, according to the show. But she said she's absolutely in love with Midge to some degree, and she is in love with Lenny Bruce because of his mind.
I would say
That's how the actress described her character.
I don't think she's in love with Midge in a romantic sense.
Correct.
Yeah, I think she's
She
in
didn't
love
say
with
that.
her more in like a family sense, more in
Correct.
like a muse,
Close friend.
more in like a admirational.
She looks out for her. She
Is
makes
that
sure
a word?
she's okay.
Admirational.
Admiration.
Oh,
Whatever you want to add to the end.
in an admirational,
Admiration-y.
way, and then she kind of, like, I guess, part of me feels like she wishes she could do that.
Maybe because she was a manager of a club. But
Something that's always interesting to me is a lot of comedians who had success back in the day will open a club.
that makes sense.
Kind of.
Because they know how it's supposed to run. That's their
Kind of.
that's what their profession was.
Sometimes, every once in a while, you'll meet a club owner, and it's kind of like almost sad.
Because they want to be up there.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's
sure.
like, oh, it didn't work out for you.
I'm sure.
And, like, this wasn't your plan. This was your plan B.
But I still, to me, that's a natural. That would be
That
a
could be
natural
me, who
transition.
knows?
Yeah, that could be. Remember, we talked about it one time.
I could do a comedy club. It
Opening
would
a
suck.
comedy club in
It
Detroit?
would suck.
Yeah,
It would,
Mom and Dad would run it.
oh, my God, it would be so hard. It would be so hard.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's just like
Well, we
there's
talked about it.
so much politics behind it, and like the negotiations, and everybody's
In
different.
anything,
and a lot of
though.
comics have egos. It's just there's a lot.
That's
There's a lot.
anything, though.
The one thing that I want for comedy clubs is like I want comedy clubs to be high end. I wish there was a comedy club in this country that was like the Copa.
Well, there's a one in Seattle that you're appearing at.
It's not a comedy club. It's a theater.
Oh, you want the club to look like the
I want it
Copacabana.
I want it to be a comedy club where the main performance is comedy.
Right.
Maybe it does something else like podcast recordings and like other things.
Oh,
Maybe
very
every
cool.
once in a while bands will do a thing there for a small thing.
Right.
Small theater, maybe 300 seats max. And I want it to be high end. Like, like very Caroline's. Like the food at Caroline's
Delicious.
is great.
Phenomenal.
The food at Caroline's is great.
The service is wonderful.
The service is wonderful. The bartenders are wonderful.
Yes.
The sound, the execution, the aesthetic. It's
Right.
all, you're like in New York City, and it's like a great feel.
and very famous.
I wish there were more like that, like we're a comedy club that was just like elevated. Like I don't want it to just be like,
Smoky
first
Joe's.
Of all, something that bothers me so bad about comedy clubs is there's a 2-drink minimum at a lot of these clubs.
Right.
It's like these people are paying a lot for the ticket, and then you're going to throw on a 2-drink minimum.
Well, because
I get why they do it.
They make the money off the bar.
I get it. But at
Yeah.
the same time, too, it's like high end. Like, it would be so cool to have, like, high, feel like you're going to something. We're not just going to drink Bud Light, get rowdy, and yell at a comedian.
Yeah,
We're going to,
very cool.
I don't know.
Would
That's-
that- would
I feel special when I perform at Caroline's, which, by the way, is in May of this year.
June.
I'm going to be at Caroline's on Broadway, so.
In June,
I'm
I
not-
thought.
It's not June.
Yes, it is.
You think I'm at Caroline's in June?
Yes.
Well, why don't we just have a little look and
You
see
just like a
who's
little
right,
peeky see, and you'll say,
Francis?
"What are you going to say to your mama when she's right?"
Okay, it's May 19th, 2021, so how about that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you better be. You better. Anyway, Emily,
How
thank
could it be?
you.
We're coming to Seattle
Did you hear me?
in May.
19th, 20th, 21st. You're coming to Seattle.
Oh, until
May
the 13th.
7th.
Till the 13th. Okay.
You're not coming on the 13th. The 13th they have a show in Oklahoma City.
Oh,
You're
we're coming till the 11th.
Mom.
We're coming till the 11th.
Till the 11th.
Until the 11th, I'm saying.
Yes, that's
Okay. All right.
It's a Mother's Day show. If you guys are in town, bring your mother. Or get your
Oh,
kids
you have a
to buy
show
it
on
for
Mother's Day?
That's the show you're coming to.
No, we're coming the night before.
Oh yeah, I don't have a show on Mother's Day, but it'd be a great way to
Jesus
celebrate.
Lord.
Anyway,
Anyway,
hey,
great show.
love it. Thank
If-
you,
if you
Emily,
haven't
for
seen it,
suggesting it.
Haven't
we
seen it?
we
Please
love
watch it.
We love
Especially
it so
if you like
much.
era pieces. It's a wonderful era piece.
I know you said era pieces,
What's
but
it supposed
I
to be?
heard, especially if you like Arab pieces, yalla. I don't know, a little bit. What's that pastry called? What's it called?
You going down.
No, I'm not. What's that pastry called? It's
Baklava.
Arabic. Baklava. Did you know in UK, since I might be going over there, they call it baklava?
Well, in Dearborn,
I
they
was
don't
like-
call it baklava.
They call it that too in Australia. Somebody
raised.
offered me some baklava, and I was like, "What?" They're like baklava, and I was like, "Baklava."
That's tough.
Baklava.
Shatila, Dearborn. I'm
The
not plugging
best.
that place because it's the best.
Bye, guys. We love you so much. Go to
Bye.
Shatila, get some baklava, and then we'll see you next time on
Let's
Watch TV.